podcast yet. We're just getting everything set up. So welcome along. For the actual podcast itself, you will be able to hear it on Tuesday morning. My favourite part of this shot, and as I've set it up properly, as I'll show Tommy T, is the fact that Ezekiel Fenn, who is our producer, his red beanie is purely in shot. Thank you, Tina. Thank you for that. There you go. We're slightly bigger. Oh no, we get your side profile of your face, Zeke. That's very exciting.
I'm sure it is.
Very good. Guys, thanks so much for joining us for this, for supporting the show for the last little while as well. It's been good to have gone on a bit of a break for a while, and we're getting back into the swing of things. Tommy T is here in person and will continue to be here in person for all of these podcasts, these Monday recorded podcasts, Tuesday release, mate. It's great to have you back in the swing of things full time.
It's good.
Thank you for being here. And Thomas J. Camp, who has two pieces of technology in front of him. Neither of them are working.
Both of them are winning.
It's standard. It's just my life.
Standard.
Technology.
But we've got a great podcast for you. We're going to get into it very, very shortly. From the live stream point of view, if you're watching on YouTube and you want to comment on the YouTube comments, or you want to jump across to our Discord server, the link for that is in the description below. You can join a whole bunch of people over there. Zeke will be keeping an eye on the comments if we need to mention anything, so to speak. But I think that's it, lads. So should we get cracking? Should we do this whole thing?
I just text you on Gambie.
Oh, there we go.
Text you a version of it so you can...
Did you?
This is enthralling video. The best. Only the best here. Well, whilst these two are still getting... Well, one is getting sorted with the help by two and the producer.
Perfect.
We got it.
You hacked it.
I've got a message. I've got a text version of it.
Here are all of the words. It's the first time you've ever looked at a run sheet, Campy. I'm very proud. I'm very impressed. Is it the studio vibe that's doing it for you?
What a shirt.
It's that tiger run.
You have.
For this,
There's a lot of collars going on here, actually. I feel underdressed.
I feel like I need a long sleeve Motorhead t-shirt. It's the coolest dude in the world.
Oh dear. All right. Well,
Fuck math and listen to our Motorhead.
I think we should get into it, lads. Should we crack this on?
This whole table shakes.
Yeah. The whole room is shaking with a laugh. Okay, here we go. Max Verstappen wins the 2022 Formula One season again. Ferrari end up playing themselves again. And Lewis Hamilton shuts down F1's drama hunting questions. G'day there, my name is James Baldwin and welcome to another episode of Lakeside Drive's F1 podcast. In this episode, we're reviewing the Belgian Grand Prix. And I'm joined by my friends and yours, Tommy T in person. G'day, mate.
G'day, that was really professional of you.
Thank you very much. It's my first day. And Thomas J. Camp. Hello, mate.
Excellent, mate. How are you?
I'm very well,
Brought
thank you.
the old the OG tune back too.
Got to do it. Well, no, this is the theme. I'm going to bring that back for our little chat on Sunday. The Oz F1 OG theme song. All of this, by the way, written by Ezekiel Fenn, who's sitting in the corner, producing for us. Hello, Zeke.
G'day, James.
That's it. That's the only thing he gets to say the entire time. It's great to have your company for this podcast and, of course, on the live stream as well, watching it. So happy Tuesday morning to you in Australia. But if you're watching it on the live stream, happy Monday afternoon. Lads, plenty of stuff to talk about. Obviously, we've had a mid-season break rather. Tommy T, we haven't spoken to you yet about the DR fiasco. Max Verstappen's won the championship again. There's absolutely no point Ferrari ever being in contention for a Formula One World Championship ever again with that kind of racing. And Valtteri Bottas had a birthday. The only time it was mentioned was just before he was spun out as he avoided Nicholas Latifi. So let's start with wishing our adopted Australian a very happy birthday, because no one on the broadcast did for a very long time.
No.
So happy birthday, VB.
Yes.
It was great to see you performing, and then I think he had a 30-place grid penalty, but because of all the other penalties, he ended up qualifying 20th and then moving forward 6 spots, even though he had a 30-place grid. Formula One is just ridiculous sometimes with how this all works.
Yep.
But anyway, that's it. Campy, we'll start with you because you were so keen to get it out at the end of our little chat last Friday about the new power unit regulations. You said Porsche was all but confirmed, and then Audi confirmed.
You're exactly right.
Sorry for that. I did mean Audi when we said it.
Yeah. That's the hot tip is that you were wrong.
Yeah. We've had some small amounts of information about the engines coming out, and it's sad news for us petrol heads. It's bigger generators, more electricity, and more biofuels, and no heat MGUH, so the heat recovery part of the engine, which is the most technical part of the engine for new manufacturers coming in. We've seen some massive gains in that, and to explain that just briefly is all the heat that an engine creates is they term it as lost energy that can be put back into the car. Now, the rumour is these cars are up to about 56 to 59% thermal efficient, so that means that 59% of the heat that's created off the engine goes back into the engine to give it performance. So they've cut that, which is a shame, but it just shows how good this sport is in how it changes and adapts to new regulations and constantly trying to get more performance out of a car where there is lacking. So it's a shame to see that leave, but for us petrol heads, I think they're going to be the quietest cars we've ever seen on track. It's going to probably rival Formula E, but for the sound, which is a shame. We started to get better. 2014, you couldn't even hear them on track when you were trackside. And I think by 2026, 12 years later, it's going to be worse off than what it was. So it's a shame, but we'll go from there.
One of the things, at least, though, we can talk about is that they're still investing in internal combustion. So, yes, there is... I mean, the biggest sad thing is that the Simpsons meme page on Facebook, put it in MGUH, needs to delete itself because there is not going to be an energy recovery system anymore. So we'll see what that changes its name to. But, again, the investment in biofuels is a good thing because this is the direction that we want to go. It doesn't mean that we're going to kill off inverted commas internal combustion. So from that point of view, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So it's good and interesting for petrol heads. We'll see what the noise thing is because obviously it was a massive change when we went from the previous generation of regulations into this one. The bring back V8s, V10s era is 100% this man sitting over here, which is not such a bad thing. Now, Audi's entry to the sport is fantastic. Porsche's entry into the sport is fantastic as well. That'll be in some format or another. It's interesting, though, we sort of assumed that Porsche would come in as the engine supplier and Audi would come in and buy a team. So Sauber or McLaren, I think Aston Martin were on the table for a while.
Alfa Romeo is the big one that they're talking about at the moment, that Audi will probably come in and buy and run under that.
So take Sauber over, which is great. And all the while, Mark Webber just doing all of the deal. He is actually now the king of Formula One. You've got Porsche in one hand, Red Bull, Oscar Piastri, McLaren. Let's talk about a little bit to do with that now, Tommy T. We haven't spoken to you yet around everything that's gone down in terms of Daniel Ricciardo was sort of for whatever reason, and I don't really know where this leaked from, but when Oscar said no, everyone went, oh, he's immediately going to McLaren. And there was, I sort of said, oh, maybe AlphaTauri, Red Bull, sort of connection with Mark Webber. Of course, we don't know anything further yet, although the curse of the podcast means in the next hour after we finish recording means that we will know exactly where he's going.
Stay tuned.
So stay tuned for us to be immediately incorrect again. But it was an interesting situation. We now know since that they're parting ways in terms of McLaren and Danny Rick.
Yeah.
What are your whole thoughts around that whole time? It was an interesting couple of weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the big thing I don't like is the painting Oscar versus Daniel, and I don't think that was happening in any way. I think that they're completely separate entities, and Oscar is there trying to start a career. Daniel is in the middle of his prime, you'd argue, maybe towards the tail end and looking for other opportunities. I don't think that means that one has to take out the other. There's enough space for both of them to be driving an F1. And I think Australia in particular, to us to come out and say that Oscar's the bad guy for trying to take Daniel's seat or Daniel should move aside, whatever was going on was just idiotic. And I think that was really disappointing to see as our media portraying that, which shouldn't have been happening. I think...
Got to sell papers though, Tommy.
Yeah, well...
Got to sell news.com.au clicks.
Yes, with stupidity. But I think Daniel was probably thinking these things anyway. He was probably going to be seeking out other opportunities before this even happened. So I think to say that this was him getting pushed out was kind of stupid because he was going to be looking anyway. He wasn't happy there. He knew he had another year up his sleeve maybe to make those decisions, and now he's made that choice not to. And I think Oscar's just looking for the best opportunity for himself to start a career in a competitive car. So, and through Mark Webber as his manager, he's going to do those things. Whether that is McLaren, we don't know yet. But I think it sounds like Alpine have already moved on as well, and they're looking for alternatives.
One of the things that I can absolutely guarantee that we will immediately be out of date for is that the contract recognition board meets
today.
When we after we've recorded this, but before this is released. So there'll be at some point that we'll have a chat about in the next episode around whose contract is valid. By all accounts, though, both of them have been told that they were valid a couple of weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. By all accounts, as you say, Alpine probably moving on from Oscar Piastri. It's more than likely that he's going to McLaren still. There's no other seats that he's being linked to. But one of the interesting things that I think has been sort of come out of the Belgian Grand Prix weekend is this Alpine seat, this empty seat. Yeah. Now, there's a couple of options that Alpine have. They've fielded some calls from drivers. Who's out of a drive for next year at this point? Yuki Tsunoda doesn't have a contract for next year. Mick Schumacher doesn't have a contract for next year. Danny Rick now doesn't have a contract for next year. Pierre Gasly does have a contract for next year. But for whatever reason, Pierre Gasly is being touted as a big contender for that seat, Tommy T.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't you if you're Alpine? I think you'd go for him. He's clearly the best driver available there.
Yeah.
And he's definitely the one you want in that seat.
The best driver available. Are you high? Oh, my Lord.
What do you mean, Campy?
What are you talking about, Campy?
Look.
The best driver available who already has a contract next year. Yeah.
Huh?
Two French drivers who don't like each other go into a French team that you
I'll
don't
take
like.
Schumacher over Pierre.
Why?
Because
he's a great performing driver, Tommy T.
You want me to lead
Definitely.
in?
Go on.
No, I'm not doing it. He's been there for so long. From day one of this podcast, he's no good. He's in the bin.
I really think Gasly will be great in that Alpine seat.
Yep.
As a double French lineup in a French car. That's what the fans are going to want to see. And he is going to lead that team because he is better than Ocon. We know that 100%. So he's going to take that Alonso seat and do better than what Alonso's done this year, to be honest.
Oh, Alonso's useless.
It's been disappointing.
Gasly.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which is probably why they didn't offer Alonso a seat again.
And why would you? Compared to Pierre Gasly.
If Alpine if they want to win a world championship, they're not going to win it with Gasly. They're not going to win it with Ocon. The only driver on the grid that will win them a world championship is Danny Rick. The hot
Was that successful?
You were very successful. Good baiting. Obviously, Campy, that's a bad call. Tommy T half an hour ago messaged me, goes, I'm going to say Pierre Gasly's the best option to take that seat over Danny Rick and everyone else just to get to Campy going.
Can I just say...
I wish you would.
The problem with Alpine's contract for Piastri this year was that they had terms of agreement with Williams to loan him to Williams for 3 years, and that's where the discrepancy shows up. Oscar never actually had a contract with Alpine, although the only way they did is Alpine had signed him and then on-signed him to someone else, and Piastri's going, no, I'm not going to Williams 3 years. We're going to get a McLaren drive.
Hell no.
But after last night's performance and the way this McLaren's performing, I think the Williams is probably a better option.
Seriously was looking very good. But we'll get to that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that obviously there's a new setup of this podcast. You're going to hear in a little bit a sponsored segment. It's just part of what we're doing to change. But also we've set up a Patreon. So plenty of people over the last couple of years have said, if you've got a Patreon, let us know so we can support you. We don't expect that. There will be nothing content-wise that will be hidden from you at any point. We will do some like random videos, behind-the-scenes videos of us in the studio. If you do sign up to Patreon, you can click the link in the description below to find that out. It is a great way of supporting us. Again, you don't have to. We're still doing this for you guys, but obviously we're taking this up a level now.
Beanie's getting expensive if you go to that.
Yeah. Is this the new beanie? Or is it the previous beanie?
It's been washed, yeah.
It's been washed.
It's one of the three of the same I've got in rotation.
Three in rotation.
Is this like that meme where it's like dad's shoes and it goes from like the stark white ones to like the little to like the gardening shoe.
This
He
was a
just
white
rotates
beanie
the
originally.
beanies.
Yeah, that's
I'm
very
not trying to
true.
impress
Love
anyone.
that.
It's just
You're a
I
married
don't know,
man
you're
now.
flexing 3 beanies on us. Relax.
And now it's time for the Discord comment of the week.
Outstanding.
Ezekiel, fair outstanding comment.
That's 10 out of 10.
Content from you. Yes, a new part of the show, Discord comment of the week. If you want to jump across to our Discord, look, it's a great community that there's about 370 people on that server now, which is fantastic. All the way through race weekend, we have a good chat. There is no such thing as a wrong opinion. And even if you don't like Daniel Ricciardo and you think he's washed, there's still room for you in there as well. I know that hurts for me to say, but that is just the whole thing. So here's CandyBot's Discord comment of the race on the week. It's from LBS.
oh, here we go.
On Ferrari being hard to watch, he says, it's like campy swimming. You know it's going to be a bin fly, but you can't look away.
You're a swimmer, eh? You told me you swim.
Oh,
That was early on in the podcast. You're like, I go swimming, and everyone's
Yeah.
like leaning into the fact that you're a great swimmer.
She said that comment.
Yes.
oh no, I'm in the pool pretty on the reg.
Pretty on the reg.
On the
Down
reg.
in Rosebud?
Hey?
The new pool in Rosebud?
No, mate. Down in Hastings.
Hastings,
now,
Pelican Park.
Pelican Park.
What time? Just out of curiosity.
Hey?
What day and time are you swimming?
That'll be the extra content.
Oh, God, no, I know. Absolutely.
Look, I took the piss out of myself when I said I went swimming. Swimming's like you assume someone's going up and down the pool. I'm just all arms, all legs, and all heart. It's good for my health. I'm not sure it's swimming, but hey, I'm not. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna pump out a couple of K if I'm.
You're in a mosh pit in the middle of the pool.
I'm gonna pump out a couple of K if I need to.
Oh, outstanding. Outstanding. We will be changing that to LSDs to
Still
take the
really
pressure
good.
off. It's such a good... You can't... Zeke with the goods again. But in terms of the TV broadcast, gents, for a whole race weekend point of view, it wasn't horrific, but it was not great. To the point where Crofty's calling out the TV direction.
That was probably my favourite part, was them sort of like telling the people running the cameras in the TV direction, hey, can you look at this? Like, excuse me, if you're watching in the picture is what we want to see, so if you can direct your eyes there, is basically what they're doing in commentary.
Yeah, it was the last lap. Max Verstappen, okay, we don't need to see him 18 seconds in front of Perez.
No.
We want to see Charles Leclerc and Alonso have that battle for that 5th and 6th position. Ridiculous. But what else was ridiculous? There was a flyover, it wasn't televised, and it was a jetpack man.
Jetman.
Wasn't even the F-16s
about
of
Jetman?
previous years.
I missed the start, but hey, jetpack, I'm all about that. That's cool.
Okay. Well, I only saw that courtesy of someone on Twitter or
So
Instagram
jetpack's not
putting
in
it.
the bin, just in case you
Okay, well, that's good. That's out of the bin. Fantastic.
Biofuel, is it?
Yeah,
Ooh,
probably.
Does that get it back in the bin?
Probably. Yeah.
What's a V8?
And the V8 jetpacks. No, we get an LS3 swap in the jetpack.
Yeah, put one on a chainsaw, see how fast you can get through it. I love those videos.
That's a recommendation to the S. That's Campy's recommendation to the SES.
algorithm would be people putting V8 in chains.
That is
Tracked-
that is
tracked
the
the pool.
extra
Go
Patreon
on.
content we can do is just look at Campy's YouTube search history.
Tractor pull, we got on in touring coming up, the annual tractor pull. It's going to be quality.
That is so hard.
What?
Oh, it's the best. The hot
F1, which is like the pinnacle of motorsport, and you also like tractor pulls, which is the antithesis of that.
I'm a
Which is
redneck.
like basically people throwing boulders at each other.
That's awesome.
It is this caveman material doing.
Oh, you can't make this stuff up.
I'm a
as
simple
previously
man.
discussed.
You are.
Technology, who needs it? Get rid of it.
The anthem was pretty flat as well, Campy. Only voice, no backing music.
She was
at
good.
all. She was
She
great,
was
but
good.
it's just a bit flat.
Good
Although,
voice.
to be fair, and I'm pretty sure Naomi Schiff mentioned this, she sung it in 3 languages, 2 Flemish, French and German, to
Yeah.
represent everyone there, which I think is really good. So, could have done with some backing, but because you've done it in 3 languages, up.
Yeah.
Points up. Stocks
Yeah,
up.
definitely.
Which is a big fan. All right, well, here is...
Spa lost a bit of its mystique this weekend. Can I just before we move on?
Because it wasn't raining.
Well, it just didn't look the same as it previously has.
Because it's been burnt to a crisp.
You get, I mean,
'Cause of-
normally
'cause
that
of
first
the
shot, that first shot of Eau Rouge for the year is like, oh, how good's this going to be?
You usually can't see because it's
Just
fog.
looks different. I don't like it. It lost its some mystique this year. It's still a great track.
We almost lost the track, and then only an hour and a half before the race happened, they confirmed it to be on the calendar for next year.
Geez, that was some made-for-TV kind of drama, wasn't it? They
Yeah,
really
geez.
thought they were launching that at the prime time, didn't they?
Well, it was like the Audi announcement that they were moving the mock F1 car down the grid, but to move it, they had to lift up the covers to get in to push the thing, and then there's this massive Audi logo down the side, and all the F1 journos are like, I wonder what this is. Yeah, good. Very, very good. All right, well, this is legitimately my favourite sound effect for this new podcast series. Here we go.
It's Campy's bin.
See?
First podcast, you're already a star. He's in.
Honestly, you don't, just this bit. I just want that as a laugh. As it's just, I can't.
Sounds satanic.
It does, but because it was part of that recording session that you did with Zesty and Z.
Change your name.
Combine both of you into one. There is a lot of sound effects that we have not used for this show properly, so I'm excited to be in the studio to radio produce this in a good way. But Campy's bin. Who is in your bin for the week, Campy?
McLaren.
Still.
McLaren and Zach Brown.
Yeah.
Andreas Seidel.
Anyone wearing papaya, basically.
The entire team.
The entire team.
James Keefe being unable to design a car that's actually any good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
also say-
That team's going to go backwards, and they're going to be the new Williams moving forward, I believe. That'll happen. They are so far behind the 8 ball. I mean, that track exposed every weakness that car had to a point where they were the 9th worst car on the grid last night. And the only car behind them was Haas, and they only finished, 5 or 6 seconds behind Danny Rick. No, they got overlapped, so it was a bit more than that. But, they are like that organisation should be severely looking at themselves and going, we have completely mucked up the first year of these new regs. And history would say it's going to take them 4 or 5 seasons to get back up to it, but then we're already past 2026 and a new engine and stuff. So, look, they're going to struggle moving forward, I think. And it's a good time for Danny Rick to get out of the organisation and pocket whatever he got, $15 million deal for next year, and go somewhere else.
Never listen to us, Daniel, because every time we've said it's a good choice, it's been a bad choice. So
Yeah,
We've got this one right, 100%. Take it to the bank.
take it to the
okay, so
bank.
that's going to go exactly right.
That's the only thing in my savings account is just that laugh. Literally nothing else. No money, don't need it. I've banked that. Look, I think that's an interesting point. We'll come to talk a little bit more about McLaren in a little bit. Look, we didn't, viewer, we didn't have a qualifying review podcast. We won't talk a lot about qualifying at this point, but we'll just run through the order, and if there's anyone, lads, that you think, well, this is not the
a weird one,
qualifying
isn't it?
order, this is
Yeah.
the starting grid, because it was too confusing
Is
to
it
figure out
even
where
though?
everyone was.
Because I don't think you've updated Gasly's position to pit either.
Oh, you're right. So,
Yeah.
no, well, he was 8th, but he was in the
Yeah.
pit lane along with Tsunoda, so there was just none there. But Carlos Sainz starting out ahead of Sergio Perez, who was unable to point his car in a good direction on the start line. Fernando Alonso starting in 3rd, who had absolutely nothing to lose, does not care anymore about this car, about this team, only looking forward and putting his own stocks up. He had a great opening lap. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. But from a qualifying point of view, after all of the penalties fleshed out, was really, really good. Hamilton and Russell was interesting. 1.8 seconds, Lewis. Yes, seconds behind Max Verstappen in the last run. That shows how strong that Red Bull is. But
Ridiculous.
Ferrari was still faster than Red Bull. They just suck at being a Formula One team, which you reckon they'd maybe focus on being better at, considering they've been around for like 75 years. Albon, though, starting up in 6th position for Williams, it was absolutely slippery. That's for sure. They had
Qualified on 10th on merit.
yeah,
Yeah,
which was
that's
great for
solid.
him.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Really getting his vibe back. The gap between him and Latifi now is cavernous. There is absolutely no shadow of a doubt in anyone's mind of just how good this guy is in a car that is not so good. Obviously, the pressure is completely off compared to Red Bull days. And then we had Stroll and Vettel. So the Aston Martin's actually starting in that top 10 was really, really good. Seb got an incredibly good start. He's now happier, I feel, now that he's leaving the sport. We'll talk a little bit about him in a second too, in terms of how he was across the weekend. And then Latifi, Magnussen, Bottas, Verstappen, Leclerc, Ocon, Norris, Joe, Mick Schumacher, and then, yes, both AlphaTauri starting in the pit lane was very, very interesting.
You would hope that Aston went well because it's a carbon copy of the Red Bull, so no wonder
it's getting better.
No wonder it was competitive this weekend.
It is getting better towards that way, and you would hope it would do, absolutely.
It's track specific.
Yeah. It's like the Renault used to be when DR was driving it. For this track, that Renault, like Williams has been, was very slippery, very good on its tyres, and managed to perform exceptionally well. So it was an interesting qualifying because it made for a mixed grid. A mixed grill. My favourite thing to order at the restaurant, Campy, I'm sure. The mixed grill.
Well, pub food.
But it meant, though, that we didn't have that traditional Max Verstappen crushing it off the start line. That he had, inverted commas, had to be cautious. Didn't matter. And like lap 4, he was already winning the championship again for the second time this year. Which was interesting to see. Okay, lads, this is the part of the podcast, listener, that I get to tell you that this episode is, in fact, sponsored and legitimately sponsored this time by NordVPN. I'm not even kidding. This is a genuine sponsorship placement. Who would have thought? Now, look, NordVPN is actually something that I use, which is a nice change when we got approached
that's a lie, because most podcasters don't actually use the things that they're...
I know. Well, look, we got approached by plenty of different brands over the years, and for most of the time it was, no, I'm so good, I don't need whatever you're selling. But legitimately, NordVPN is the thing. Now, Cam, this is very important to you, of course, because we know how much you love watching Netflix.
I love Netflix, but you know what I love more
You and your
about
housewife and
Netflix?
which was up on your computer when we started recording this. It was.
You know what I love more about Netflix is American Netflix, because I can access it on my NordVPN. That's how good I am. So, yep, there we go.
It is legitimately a thing. So one of the things that I would say about Nord is I do actually travel. If you do follow me on Instagram, you know that I travel all the time. And one of the things that I really dislike is getting served ads from anywhere else in the world than where I actually am. So I choose to go back to Australia, so at least I get ads that I can actually relate to.
It always takes 4 or 5 days to catch up.
It does. But otherwise, it's a pretty good thing. Now, look, for NordVPN, there is a special they've got at the moment. If you go to nordvpn.com/Lakeside Drive, that link is in the description below. You will actually genuinely receive a huge discount on a 2-year plan plus a free month. And of course, if you go and choose NordVPN as a VPN, you're going to support the show. That's going to be a good thing. We get to do more studio stuff as he gets to wear more beanies, and maybe we can afford to buy Campy another beanie. But there is also a whole range of other things, like legitimately dark web monitoring, threat protection in terms of how you download things, all that sort of virus protection. But the main thing with NordVPN is that it's risk-free. So you get 30 days to get your money back if you don't like it. You can go choose another one, genuinely risk-free. Look, a massive thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this part of the podcast. It is a real good thing to do. So again, check out the link, nordvpn.com/Lakeside Drive. Now, let's go through our team-by-team analysis. As we always do, we're going to start right at the very back of the pack, and I'm going to open with Haas saying that if Daniel Ricciardo if that's the only seat option for him for next year, he should take a sabbatical or consider retiring from the sport, because I don't think he should go backwards. What are your thoughts, Cam?
I think it is laughable that Haas think they can get Daniel Ricciardo. That for me says it all right there. His stocks are down at the moment, but I said this last Thursday, he's in a position where a team can pay him next to nothing next year and take a risk, and he's going to get paid the rest of it out through his McLaren contract anyway. So I think the open seat to go to is Alpine at the moment, but he may have burned some bridges when he left there. Just think about the performances he had next to Ocon in that car. Ocon was second rate in qualifying, but the race pace was astronomical, a bit like the gap between Sergio and Perez and Max Verstappen. But if Perez starts to perform like he did last night against Max all year, I think Red Bull may consider Danny Rick too. So your little conspiracy you had the more I think about it, the better it works, Jim.
Got to glue that tinfoil bean into my head.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that all in a little bit. But Haas, though,
Devil's advocate.
plays away.
Imagine how fun that would be for us as consumers of content of how good Drive to Survive would be that year. All the things that go with Daniel, Gunter, probably K-Mag.
It'd
You'd think
suck.
if he
It'd
could,
be like watching F1 this year. It
I
sucks.
think.
I
He's in a
think, welcome to
terrible
this Formula
car.
1 podcast. We don't like watching Formula 1.
Oh,
And
Formula 1,
There's
it's-
going to be 3 races in the US, racing for a US team in a place where they love Daniel Ricciardo. I don't think that's so far out of the realm for him to make as a decision.
Haas don't do good social media. Even if they had Danny Rick, they wouldn't
I
do.
don't agree with that. I think they do great social media.
And I
Really?
think
Yeah.
they would
I
definitely
wouldn't
step
know,
it
I
up.
don't
and
know.
throw-
They don't do this.
Do you have
watch
an
it? No.
Instagram?
Well, look at Red Bull's American thing they do every year. It's
Your
tip-top.
iPad can probably get on to Instagram.com/Haas.
If it loads anything.
But I think Daniel's going to be thinking a bit more broadly. And I think Haas could actually be a very good spot for him to have a year off while not having a year off.
Yeah, I just look. I get that it's a good place to park yourself if nothing's going to happen. But if you're parked in Haas, you're not. There's no mystique left. Now, yeah, okay, his stocks are down. There are plenty of people in this paddock who know his quality and his worth, right?
Yeah.
I would suggest he would be worth more having a sabbatical for a year, doing absolutely no racing, like literally no racing, no IndyCar, no NASCAR, nothing. Just stay on 12 months of not doing anything. Take that time to secure himself into a deal with a team like Alpine. If they decide to go with Gasly or whatever washes out with Oscar, like a team like Alpine or Red Bull, when Checo's contract is up. Because, again, you went on the podcast, we were talking about it, but to me it would make more sense Red Bull go, we don't have any junior drivers. Liam Lawson did a good job in F2. He did FP1 and AlphaTauri over the course of the weekend. Is he worthy to step up to Formula 1? I mean, he's going to go okay, but is he going to suffer the Brendan Hartley New Zealander in AlphaTauri/Toro Rosso curse? Yes, because AlphaTauri are not where they were last year. The new design philosophy hasn't helped. So Red Bull are at a loss as to try and find some talent. Now, Colton Herder has been mentioned by someone in the paddock talking about Helmut Marko is, well, if we can get Pierre Gasly if Alpine want Pierre Gasly, then we want McLaren to give us Colton Herder to do all of the musical chairs. Well, that's dependent on 3 teams agreeing to something. Well, that ain't going to happen. Yeah. Absolutely not going to happen. But I want to talk about Mick Schumacher because we're talking about Haas. Is there legitimately any reason why he should not have that Haas seat for next year, Tommy?
He should not have that seat if there's someone better to take that seat. That's kind of the only reason. He hasn't lost it on his own merit. It's more just like, is someone else going to take it from you? Yeah, I think he's been fine.
I think he's been fine too, Campy.
Last year he was clearly the better driver than he
Wasn't hard.
Wasn't hard. This year the ceiling has been raised again, and he's shown glimpses of where he's at. Is he his dad? Well, we're not seeing the sort of performances would suggest that. But then again, he's not in a car that can get those performances either. What he needs to do to secure his seat and be a long-term viable option for F1 is he needs to start beating Magnussen consistently. And he's getting better, but it's not happening. But we've seen a 3rd or 4th year in these cars, like your Gaslys, and give them time after they are terrible for the first few years. They tend to get better and they get a lot more relaxed. Look at Stroll. I mean, does Stroll deserve to be on the grid? Absolutely not. But his results would suggest, because he's been in the category and he's consistently learning, that he's getting better and he's performing quite well. Yeah. Be interesting to see how he goes against Alonso next year, which we're looking forward to. But to bring that to someone like Mick, I think he's still got value in the sport because of his name and his marketing and where he's come. Teams are going to lay the red carpet out for him. So on that, you'd keep him. But does he deserve a drive to move up the grid yet? He hasn't shown enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot for him moving forward in the Ferrari fold. I think we spoke about this a little earlier in the year, that you've got Carlos Sainz, who's relatively new to Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, who's been signed for about 4 million years to Ferrari. Yeah. If Charles Leclerc leaves to Mercedes to fill the spot that Lewis will leave, which there is some kind of conversation going about at the moment, that might open up the spot for Mick. But there is more drivers, and Ferrari aren't necessarily as invested in their junior program as someone like George Russell, Mercedes, Toto Wolff going, all right, we need to get you because otherwise we'll lose you. They're happy to look anywhere. Like Carlos Sainz was a good example of that. Signing for Ferrari and Seb Vettel as well, and literally every other driver they've had coming up through the thing except for Charles. Charles is the only recent history of coming out of Formula 2 into what was Sauber for a year. Yeah. Right, okay, he performed exceptionally well. The car was quick then too. Jump into Ferrari, everything looks good. But I don't know if it's necessarily if Mick's done enough to stay, but it's also like, as you say, he's not done enough to leave. No. So it's not like he's underperforming at all. But Haas clearly haven't been totally stoked with him because, I mean, Gunther doesn't know who he's going to be signing for next year. But it's just an interesting place to be for that team right now. It's convenient that Daniel's become available. I think, yes, from a commercial standpoint, makes sense, but from a driving standpoint, for me, it just doesn't make sense at all. I would suggest he would retire from the sport rather than go perceivably further back in the grid, holding or not. I think he probably can just accept that his time is done, if that was the only seat left, if Alpine wasn't an option for him. Alfa Romeo, VP, so sad for him, beaching on his birthday.
He's in a good spot too.
He was in a great spot.
Yeah.
And he got slightly tapped by Latifi. If he had not have avoided that accident, then it would have been a bigger crash and probably spent a lot more time. So thanks, VB, for not giving us a red flag, I guess.
I beached it.
He did beach it, which was just such a shame. But he's so chill about everything at the moment.
Wearing a bucket hat, being a cool guy.
I want one of those bucket hats, by the way. That is...
Campy also looks good in a bucket hat.
You do? Where is that bucket hat, Campy?
Bucket hat.
That was a nice gift that someone got you.
Yeah, who got you the gift again?
Can't remember that one.
He memorised it for that one episode.
Shit the bed too, didn't I?
No, you got it.
Nailed it.
After many practice runs beforehand. For Alfa Romeo, though, it sort of is a bit of an interesting mid-ground for them at the moment. They're not really going forward. They're not really going backwards. VB's signed for next year. Joe doesn't have a contract for next year. Teo Pourchaire is an Alfa Romeo Sauber Junior. Do they look to bring him up? He's performing pretty well in F2. Is he ready yet? Probably not.
I don't think we've got anyone in F2 or F3 that is a genuine contender to come into this sport. I'm not saying that they can't, but the only person that has set that championship alight since the days of your George Russells, your Lando Norris, and your Charles Leclerc, the only person to do that deserves a drive on the grid is Oscar Piastri. No one else for me has done it. They will be able to step up and they'll be able to compete like Guan Yu Zhou. He's the exception because of his nationality and the money, the immense amounts of resources coming with him. But everybody else, for me, is not capable and is not good enough to take that drive. It's going to be interesting in 25, 26 if Red Bull goes on and Max Verstappen goes on to win 4 championships. We're going to have a whole lot of these amazing junior drivers that came through of yesteryear, that came through very early in the sport in relation to their age and the people that missed out before them. They're going to be all in these top drives out winning championships, and teams are going to start to look elsewhere. And I'm talking about Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, George Russell. Who else have we got? I'm talking about Checo Perez. He'll be gone at some stage. And those top drives in those seats, because Hamilton will be gone too, there's going to be a massive amount of top drives left when these guys don't perform come around 25, 26, if they don't win world championships. And I think the teams are going to be looking at people who they can put in there because they're going to go, well, these young kids haven't performed like we wanted them to. So I think we'll miss a generation of the next 3 to 4 years of kids coming up, genuine, but I don't think there is genuine contenders. We're looking at the next crop of drivers coming up in the next 3 to 4 years down the track to fill those positions.
Yeah, and honestly, because we brought in 3 rookies in 2019 in George, Albon and Lando Norris, who arguably one of those was George, was the right call.
Yeah.
Carlos too, yeah.
We're not in 2019.
Oh, he was 2018.
It was earlier, don't forget. So this is rookie season. 3 rookies was way too many.
Season,
and, George did the thing, like the other 2 had some success and have had podiums and everything else, and he struggled at the back in that Williams and then earned that seat going forward, which was a traditional trajectory for a driver from Formula 2, go into a team that's not very good, cut your teeth, no pressure, and then step forward, which is what Alpine was trying to do for Oscar Piastri and Williams.
Yeah.
No one cares about that side of the paddock. Just go do your thing. Everything will be fine, and then we'll bring you into Alpine when Fernando inevitably goes, was the thought process.
What I was talking about was that Jolie and Palmer era of drivers in F2 and F3 that missed their chance sheerly because of their age.
Yeah.
The follow-on effect is when these guys aren't winning world championships and getting the results that top teams want. We're going to have the domino effect on the other end is that we're going to have to pull 4 or 5 drivers out of F2, F3 within a 2 or 3 year period in order for them to make the growth and steps they want.
Subpar is what you're saying.
Yeah, and again, this is the problem when we pull too many through and we push some of the drivers out at the top and who were performing pretty well. Marcus Ericsson wasn't terrible, still performing well. The car wasn't great, but when the Sauber actually stood up next to Charles, he was being beaten by Charles, but he wasn't terrible. Grosjean, Magnus came back, Stoffel Van Dorn, Pascal Wehrlein. Let's go through Giovinazzi, that sort of entire side of the grid. So it's a very good point because instead of Lando and Albon having time to sort themselves out and maybe grow up a little bit, understand, win the championship themselves to then, of course, get that coveted seat into Formula 1 from F2, it's not a thing. Tio Pocher, interestingly, has said he's not doing F2 next year. So he's forcing Alfa Romeo's hand to go, well, you're either putting me into the car for next year or I'm going. See you later.
Is he good enough, though?
Well, look, he's a very capable driver. Dude's 19, though. So, I mean, again, it's from an age point of view, he's got so much time ahead of him to get into the sport. So, I just find it interesting how they're negotiating things now, too.
Yeah.
I would imagine Jack Doohan is pushing exceptionally hard, for example, to take that Alpine seat.
The reserve spot.
No, the full-time seat.
There's no way doing it. I mean,
he's pushing for it. Why wouldn't he?
I know he's pushing for it, and he's well backed, and he's a big name, and he's got a hell of a lot of cash behind him. Blah blah blah. But he hasn't performed in F2 the way he should have in order to get a drive on an F1 grid. It's the reality of the situation. I'm his biggest fan. I want him to perform. I want him to do well. But it's just not happening at the moment.
Let's move on to our favourite team, McLaren. Daniel Rick, 15th. Lando Norris in 12th. Didn't look... It's very much adding to the Daniel Rick is washed commentary of where this light sort of fell out, I suppose. But they both finished outside the points. Lando, of course, started at the back of the grid with penalties. But as you said earlier, this track highlights how poor this car is.
Danny Rick had no firepower. After first 5 laps in the start, he was in good position. Should have been, in any other car, he should have been able to hold on to it. But he got, the Williams of Albon. That flew past him on a straight.
It was the fastest car out there.
And he had, the deficiency for the McLaren in a straight line was why they could pull no punches. I think Lando did 2 passes, and they were both on Haas's at one stage. He did one on Guan Yu Zhou too. And, it was, barely... It took him the whole length of the Kemmel Straight with DRS to get past them and couldn't do it. So he couldn't fight any punches. Why he chose to stay out those extra 3 or 4 laps on the second pit stop for Daniel Ricciardo and lose all that track position in that train, I don't know what he was thinking. Was it a McLaren decision? I know Danny Rick said on the radio that he wanted to stay out for those 3 laps, but it lost him so much track position. He really should have been in that 11th spot fighting for Albon. The problem is they had no firepower to answer any of the other cars around them and try and get some good track position. If he was in a train, they could hold on, but if they weren't in a train, they just got absolutely swamped because of the high speed. And it just... for Martin Brundle to come out and say Daniel Ricciardo did nothing this weekend for me to say that he wants to be in the sport next year in the future, those comments are ignorant when you look at how shit the car was and the on-track performance that he had. There's nothing he could do, and his team cost him 6 positions in the end as well because of the staying out those extra 3 laps. Why would Lando pit before him?
They're performing an undercut on themselves.
It's just like... They don't want to deal with Daniel going, no, that's dumb.
But then again...
They want to just switch them artificially.
They're not watching the race like we watch as Ricciardo's race as closely. They're trying to focus on 20 and aren't getting the whole perspective. But comments like that don't help.
No.
When they should be clearly at McLaren for their car this weekend.
I think the other thing that was interesting for me is DR at the starting grid. He's for 2 things. Before the national anthem, he had Mick Schumacher, him, George Russell, I think, and Alex Albon all sitting in a row All lying, sitting having a bit of a chat before getting in the car. Firstly, wholesome content. That was great. You love to see it. Daddy Ricciardo with the sons. All right, guys, this is how you drive a Formula 1 car. But secondly, when he was getting into, he's doing his weird stretching, which we spoke about with Michael Italiano. Well, you should absolutely go and listen to that interview. You should watch it. I'll link that somewhere here later. But he was saying, it's good for him to get into the zone. He's listening to his music, which is good. But then the camera cuts to Lando Norris and he's there with Zach having a big laugh and everything else. I was like, okay. Not great way of reading the room for me. I mean, Zach can do what he wants, but again, it's still a very odd situation having the CEO of the organisation out doing that stuff and not having Andreas there doing it. Yes.
Zach's shit. He's in it definitely 3,000%.
It's Campy's bid.
Yeah.
Even he's American. Look, I like Americans. I love Americans.
Do you? Tommy, what's on the back of your jacket? Can you show the camera?
I can a little. Oh, man.
Stars and stripes.
There you go. That's for all of our US fans. What do you think, Zeke, of Daniel Ricciardo? Where do you think he should go next year?
I've been thinking about this long and hard, James.
Yes.
And I think the best thing for Daniel Ricciardo to do next year would be the thing that pleases him most.
The hot tube.
That's absolutely what he should do. Good answer. You should start a podcast.
Should he go and start a hardcore band or something?
I think so. I think that's where he's heading.
Maybe he'll just follow around like Alexis on Fire, like people follow around the Grateful Dead. Yeah. Maybe just do that.
That's an absolute vibe from him. Anyway, interesting. We know he's going to move on. Plenty of you on the Discord dislike McLaren immensely. Yep. You were in good company here. That's it. Not going to defend it. All of that content that I got from the MTC in the bin to never using any of it again. I love that Williams is ahead of McLaren here. Latifi in 18th. Okay, look, interesting if he drives next year, because the big thing was ahead of Silverstone, and this is where the Alpine crack started to show for me, there was conversations around, we are going to know that Oscar Piastri is driving that Williams for next year. Nick Latifi is going to be out of the team, and then nothing happened. Remember, there was a lot of media buzz about, is this going to be your last year rather, Williams, Nicky? No, nothing heard. Interesting. So either Doralton Capital don't have enough money and they need Lavazza to continue chipping in for their average caffeine at best needs and some cash, or they're seeing something that we're not, and they're just genuinely happy with Latifi's pace compared to Albon as someone to fill that seat for at least another 12 months. But again, he doesn't have a contract for next year, so there's someone else. But who comes up? Logan Sargent, Formula 2. Yeah, okay. Is he ready? No. Is he a Williams junior driver? Yes. Is there an opportunity for him to become better next to Alex Albon? Yeah, I think so. I mean, Albon helped Yuki Tsunoda last year get over some of the stuff that he was dealing with and drive that AlphaTauri better. He did a good driver's coach stint. So potentially there's some things there, and also bringing the US market, Doralton Capital being a US company, bringing a US driver in. There is some hope there, but again, we haven't heard anything, Tommy, of what is happening with Latifi.
I think he'll be the last domino to fall because no one really cares. Unfortunately, he's gonna just sit
like
there
Canada.
and wait to see if there's a seat left for him. Maybe
A bit like Canada. How dare you? What's wrong with you?
Everyone loves Canada. What are you talking about?
Take that back. So the last domino to fall. In fact, we've closed down. Filming's not happening anymore, and then it falls in the dark. Where if Latifi is pushed out of Formula One and no one's around to see it, doesn't happen.
Let's see how things shuffle. If someone new enters Formula One into next year and takes a seat, he'll probably get shuffled out. If everyone just moves, he'll probably just retain the seat, I would have thought.
Campy, did you see Kimi driving NASCAR?
Oh, it was cracking. He had a stack, which was a bit of a shame. But,
that was actually, shout out to Tara. I loved watching that NASCAR event.
Oh, Watkins Glen, that's always great. It's so much better.
They turn right.
So much better
as well as left.
So much better in the V8s because you can just take people out and there's no penalties. It's awesome. It's like, get out of my way.
Also, track limits. There is the track limit, and then they've gone so far that they're on the other side of the tyre wall, and all the Armco driving around the back of the stands, getting around something is just outstanding. The fact. Yeah. Are you okay there with your lead? Do you need some help?
No, I'm all good. I've just lost.
I need something to fiddle with, don't you, Camp?
I lost a headphone, which is no good.
So our producer Ezekiel Fenn, who has done amazing things. Which one do I want?
Good thing that in the same building and you can hear us.
Let's come back in.
It's come back. Excellent. Good stuff. But Alex Albon, though, outstanding drive.
Awesome
He
drive.
defended very well from Daniel Ricciardo. Of course, the McLaren couldn't pass, but was still putting the car in really good spots up the end.
Fast on the straights.
Was fast on the straights.
Slippery.
It was like legitimately good to see that
Yeah.
Williams are actually thinking about
Track specific
rather than
things.
just getting Mr. Saturday into Q2. They're actually thinking about the race, which was very, very good. AlphaTauri both started from the pit lane. Points at Gasly in 9th, Tsunoda in 13th is out. David Croft having a very hard time trying to remember who Yuki Tsunoda was and what team he drove for at one point.
Long
It was-
mid-season breakthrough.
It was very long. It was Guan Yu Zhou. Which team did he say? I think it was, maybe he did say Alfa Romeo, but it was awkward at best to listen to. And then he was like, oh, sorry, 5 things are going on at once. Yes, Crofty, that is your job.
That's F1.
It's quite literally your job is to process multiple sources of information and do things well.
And communicate.
Unbelievable. But anyway, for Tsunoda, though, he was caught in a DRS race.
He's pretty solid, though.
Yeah.
Like, to start from the pit lane to get to where he was. I mean, didn't get points, but pretty solid.
And then, of course,
Gasly came out to fresh air on after his first pit stop, which allowed him to make that jump. But Tsunoda was great too.
That was just Gasly again on good strategy because he's outstanding at being a
everything.
driver, strategy, engineer,
Yeah.
marketing.
Best Frenchman going.
He did the best probably piece of social media which we've never talked about, which was like Pierre Gasly likes, which was hilarious.
I've forgotten about that.
That was great.
Very,
Did you like
very
that,
good.
Campy?
Did you like that, Campy?
So,
No, he's too busy looking at Haas's social media, not liking it. Sorry,
too
not
busy
looking
looking-
at Haas's
looking
social media.
at-
and,
Yeah,
he
chainsaws and
benefited
stuff.
too from the
Tractors.
safety car at the start and could make up bulk time. So
This him trying to undercut Gasly is just getting more outlandish every episode. That's
great. Firmly stuck.
He'll win the championship and you'll still discount it somehow.
Yeah, no,
Nah.
you may do. Yeah. No, everyone else retired.
Oh,
early
they're not even
mentally.
using internal combustion anymore. Doesn't count as F1. That'll be
very,
one.
very valid point. I would argue that to my death.
Well, they want extreme A probably.
Electric cars suck.
They do.
Aston Martin, Seb Vettel, 8th. Yes, points. Stroll, 11th. Best move that Seb did, pushing Stroll onto the gravel. Get out of here. I don't even give a crap anymore who
did
you
just
are, what
squeeze
your
him,
dad
didn't
is.
he?
Oh, it was so great.
Gave him zero room. Total gentleman.
But what are you going to do? Give him
I
penalties
liked
to your own
it.
team,
It's
mate?
against Stroll, who cares? No
Yeah, but
one-
also, like, he's out. He doesn't have to please dad anymore.
Yeah.
Or
He's
Brad.
like,
Brad,
Poor
Seb
Brad.
pushed
Worst
me.
job in F1, I would have thought.
Oh, dear. We should try and talk to Brad at some point in the future
Console
on this
the young
podcast.
man.
But yeah, Seb drove really well. He was around 5th, 6th for a long time. And
I think it was
pace-
track specific too.
the-
Oh, wow, you've got the negative beanie on. Can you get the positive one?
straight in.
Bloody hell, that's
Seb?
broken.
Trying to get in the fight.
Trying to get into a fight. Mate, the only people poking bears here are us, and it's you as a result at the end. Good luck to you. Also, we didn't talk about the black and white Instagram post that Seb did. He started his own Instagram channel just to announce in German and in English his departure
Outstanding.
from the sport.
My man.
It was well shot.
Yeah. Good on him.
His hair implants are doing
Well, I
very
think
well.
he realised he's like, listen, if I'm going to have an impact post Formula One, kind of need somewhere to talk.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe.
Although he created it, and then like in hours, he had one of the highest followings.
Yeah,
in
because
Formula One social
everyone,
media.
every Formula One social media just blew it up. It was like, Sebastian Vettel has Instagram, and everyone's like,
Outstanding.
Maybe that's the play with me in Lakeside Drive.
yeah,
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
just
that's
wait
the
until
play.
the end.
That's that's it. That's
I think so.
the very
Just
end.
hold out.
Yeah, just before
How do you know
we,
you don't already have an Instagram that we've set up?
When it,
Good
yeah,
luck. I don't know.
we said we were going to do that.
We should
earlier,
do that for the
didn't do that.
Patreon.
Yes, we
That'd be
should. Absolutely right. Just deep fake camping content. In fact, you wouldn't even need deep fake content. He'd do it himself.
We just put your face on Alex Jones and no one knows the difference.
Surprised I haven't asked you to fill in for him yet. Same person. Alpine. Fernando. Oh no. Just need that laugh. I've got to go through the bin noise to get to the laugh. Alpine, honestly, really good this weekend. And again, if Daniel Ricciardo's going anywhere, it's to that car. Fernando Alonso finishing in 5th after the fact that Charles speeded in the pit. Like, what is Ferrari doing? Honestly.
Love the pit stop at the end came out behind Alonso too. For
So
Charles.
funny. And Alonso was like, you sucker.
Seriously bizarre. One of the things that Fernando Alonso was amazing with was his immediate on the radio, fluent, passionate, beautiful comment about Lewis Hamilton.
Yep.
What did he say? This guy.
Classic this guy. I can't remember what he finished it with, but it was basically, and that's why he's blah, 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 blah. Like, he just signed it off perfectly. I think we'll be able to find it and insert it probably.
With the fact that it was like, this guy only knows how to start and lead a race.
Yeah.
Just as in, he's forgotten how to wheel race. Now, fair play to Lewis, gets straight out and goes, yeah, absolutely my mistake. We'll talk about Hamilton in a sec.
Yeah.
But the fact that, again, you know, one of the things you have to do as a driver is media, otherwise you get fined. Ask Kimmy. But he got out there and he was asked the question. He was like, Fernando Alonso said on the radio, and he was like, you know, I don't care. It was in the heat of the moment. I don't want to know about it. And he completely shut down.
So good.
Outstanding. Like, we don't need this clickbait drama journalism in the paddock, guys. Please stop that.
That's what we do here, me baiting Campy.
That's it. We don't need anything else. All we need is... That's it.
You've
Just
already
that
killed
laughter.
that noise for me now.
I know, it's great. It's
sorry,
fantastic.
he's gonna have to do it again because he stuffed it. He's already ruined it.
But at least he admitted that he was incorrect, which is great. But Fernando's drive, legitimately great.
He was on for a podium if he didn't get pulled into that incident, I reckon.
Yeah, he was driving with damage for the rest of the race as a result.
Never on for a podium.
What do you mean? Starting third.
So
How was he not on
negative.
for a
He
podium?
was never on for a podium compared to Red Bull and Ferrari's genuine pace.
No,
But Ferrari have genuine pace, but terrible strategy. So
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen.
And they were the fourth best grid on the car today.
Thank you for doing it.
The hot
right.
Very good.
Oh, good. Ocon was excellent too. 2 moves where he took 2 cars in a corner.
Yeah, and I mean, people going, it's the same as Mika Häkkinen's overtake. No,
Let's not get excited.
Never, ever put those 2 drivers in the same category ever again. But it was a decent pass.
His avoiding of that Latifi incident as well was outstanding.
Yeah.
Like, his car control there was pretty epic to avoid that.
Genuinely fair play to him.
Yeah.
What could have been? Danny
But
Ricciardo.
I did like this. It was in the, I think it was in the pre-race coverage. They were talking about how unlikable he is as a person and a teammate. It was kind of
Big
like confronting
dick right
hear how much people were like open about, oh yeah, he's a dick, no one likes him. Pretty much. Like, all of his teammates have said, yeah, he's really difficult. Alonso's come out and said it. I don't think Daniel has, but everyone else who's raced with him in the past has been like, yeah, he's a dick.
Yeah.
Like, no one likes him.
Yeah, it's
Gasly doesn't like him either. That'd be falling
well,
out.
and that's one of the
Thought
things
maybe
that.
Joe-
Well,
the first
Gasly will
one.
go there and then he'll kick him out and get to pick his teammate because Gasly's going to run the team.
Why do you think Zeke sitting next to you is slowly the red beanie will replace the dark green olive beanie and you will be yeeted, my friend,
Zeke's
into
my
the
boy.
bin with you. We should use that sound effect again, just into the bin. But for Alpine, again, if DR can get into that drive for next year, they're looking better.
Yep.
Then, again, work said, looking better than McLaren, but they've got the potential to keep moving forward. Imagine having DR in that car to help get that stuff back on track. Interesting comment that you said earlier on about the, sorry, I don't remember who said it, but is there any bad feelings with Renault when he left? Yes, with the guys who all got fired. So the guys who are there now, so Cyril and his little crew of people who are best mates around him, who by all accounts were pretty useless, when that whole change came about, Alain Prost, remember, left Renault. He said to Luca Di Maio, these guys suck, you need to get rid of them, that's why I'm leaving. And Luca went, okay, you're out. Yeah. So that whole refresh has meant that if he comes in, Otmar, fine, happy to drive with him and everything else. Not that DR has to tell Otmar anything, just to keep that consistent line going, and just keep Otmar in that cupboard. And then occasionally we're like, oh, mate, what's going on? Do you want to know something? No, too bad you can't.
Just need to follow Will Buxton if you want to know what's going on, mate.
It's going to be interesting, but I think from that, it's I've just got a 10-second penalty for me for excessive soundboard use.
Good. Who did that?
Right.
That's 10 out of 10.
Tilly Willy. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
10 out of
That's for
10.
you. But I think it's going to be interesting to get Daniel. Whoever's in that car next year is going to be better off, I think, because of Alonso. Keep fingers crossed that it is Daniel. Mercedes has said Hamilton came straight out again, front wing. That whole car was on its front
ridiculous,
wing,
isn't
and
it?
the front wing was still intact to the point where he was still able to drive the thing along. Didn't go into a million pieces. Campy, we love this.
I was shocked it didn't do anything to Alonso's car.
Yeah.
I know.
Just rode the wheel almost,
because the way those suspensions work, they're not designed to take load that way.
Full drive.
They
It's
take
supposed to be flat
that
level.
horizontal load really well for the wheels,
Yeah.
but anything coming through on that. I suppose I don't know how you explain it. It's not.
I was shocked that there's a
not
sensor
vertical
that
load, but-
says enough change in, I don't know, geometry has happened that he needs to go to the medical office.
Yeah, he got a warning for it because
Yeah,
he didn't
because
go.
the car tripped a sensor to say that it had been whatever angle,
Yeah.
and he must go see them. The fact that
He quite literally walked it off though.
yeah,
No one came and got him.
He just
He
left
was
him.
like, oh. And the cameraman who was
Walked through the
creepy,
forest.
and then he's like, this is going to be great. Stops the shot, and he keeps going. I'm like, actually, very good. Well shot. Well shot, that cameraman. Promote that man.
I think Russell left the podium on the table this weekend.
left the table on the podium.
Yeah,
I reckon he did.
he did. There you go, boys.
Nah, I don't think he did.
No, he did. He was catching signs, like he was hunting them down. What we've seen with that
Science was
Mercedes,
managing.
what we've seen with that Mercedes, in before the mid-season break was that car came alive during the race. The start on full fuel is not that great, but as the race progresses, it gets better and better and better. If Hamilton had been in that position, he would have got a podium.
I agree with that.
Well, Russell made a mistake at the end, which cost him like 1.3 seconds, which, you know, all the work he'd done for the previous 5 laps of the car. I think he left one on the table. It's a shame. Still
I
good
reckon
result for
Sainz had a
Russell.
little bit more in there that he wasn't using because there was such a big gap between the front. Like he couldn't catch, he couldn't go for second, so he was like, I'm going to manage. And then Russell seemed to get closer, so he kind of was like, oh, better get a move
I
on.
disagree. I don't think Ferrari's got anything in the tank, and the car's getting worse as the season goes on. Everyone starts to pick up on their...
Well, that's me rebutted there.
Who do you agree with?
I really want to press the sound effect. 10 seconds. I'm going to have another 10-second penalty. But no, I disagree with you. I think Ferrari's still the best car on the grid. They just can't get it together.
Oh, best car on the grid.
Yes.
Are you high?
No, if you look at the statistics, legitimately, it's still the fastest car on the grid.
Over the year.
After Max Verstappen put, 40 seconds on Carlos Sainz last night after starting in 15th place.
You're not hearing what I'm saying.
20
Saying
seconds
the
on his
car-
team,
car.
mate.
The best car, not the best driver. Max is absolutely, without doubt, the
Bollocks.
best driver on the grid at the moment.
Bollocks.
Well, look, it must be nice to be wrong. Ferrari, I think, still performing pretty well, considering... Well, Ferrari, the drivers, performing okay, considering the...
Nope.
We're going to plan... It was plan B. They completely skipped C and went to D, and then they were like, question...
Oh,
What about
I've
Lando
never-
going to G? Plan G.
I mean, how are they planning this? But for Ferrari's point of view, I just don't understand. They're
asking
like,
of questions?
now we're going to have a strategy discussion with
Over
the
the
driver.
open radio.
And Charles is like, I'm so done with you guys.
The poor
You can
guy is
feel
getting
it.
asked, like, what would you like for dinner tonight at the hotel?
Yeah.
He's like, listen, I'm driving a Formula 1 car. I'm kind of busy.
But it's
Can
like-
you guys figure this out with the ones with all the computers and stuff?
Seriously, like lap 20, they're like, we're on for a P5 finish. You're like, I'm in P... What?
Huh?
You mean I can't get any better than this? Really?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway,
And
Ferrari...
he had a
doing Ferrari
shocking
thing.
race, didn't he, Leclerc?
They did, yeah. And Sainz
The attempt
really
at
wasn't
the
much better.
fastest lap was probably the most idiotic decision you would have to say.
Did he get it in the end?
No, he didn't get it. He got,
He got a penalty.
He got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and he lost the place to Alonso.
Unbelievable.
I
content.
didn't know that.
Idiotic. Absolutely idiotic.
Oh, that's the best.
Let's finish off with Red Bull. Max Verstappen, absolutely dominant. Again, he's already won this championship this year. There's no point anyone else even considering. The fact that Charles keeps going, oh, I'm in contention.
You're
Well,
not,
not from
mate.
6th, you're not.
Not with that team. He was in 6th place after 6 laps.
It's just ridiculous.
That's stupid.
And there was a safety car in that time too, so
Yeah.
he didn't have an ability to move forward in
Yeah.
that time.
That car was so much better than everything that we've ever seen around this track. I think that's the most dominant. Well, you could talk about Mercedes 2014, 15.
19.
All of it, basically.
But that is the most.
Mercedes.
If this is what we come to expect for Red Bull for the next season and a half, 2 years, it's going to be a tough slog watching F1.
Well, and this comes to my
Seeing
point about
them so
Perez.
far ahead.
Is you better get second with a car that good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
honestly.
His start was horrific.
Do you
It
know,
was terrible, and he still managed second. Like, he didn't have a good race.
Yeah.
And so second.
He was
That's
not
how good
happy
that
about it
car
too.
is.
the only difference between all the second Red Bull drivers we've seen to Max Verstappen is Perez will consistently get the second and third and the podiums when they should be. His pace is still just as shit as the rest of them. Mate, he was
Yes,
six,
OJ, it's so
six,
true.
Not wrong.
6/10 in qualifying, but over a race distance. You think about how far he was behind after the first lap and then came back through. We're talking about a 35 to 40 second turnaround
Yeah.
on his teammate, which is a second a lap. He passed him on soft compound tyres and then put 3 seconds on him in that first
In a lap.
in a lap. Unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Star.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's our team by team analysis, guys. Thank you for that. Let us go through what is. I've just realised I haven't put this sound effect in the board. That's disappointing. I'll have to insert it later.
Maybe you should get rid of some of them
the
you've been overusing.
the fantasy team.
That's the best one.
I know. Hey, Zeke, can you just say fantasy many times so that's like a live recording of that sting?
Fantasy many times.
Good. You're a good addition. So for the again, 156 people in this fantasy competition. Genuinely some exceptional ones in here, team. Well done. Here we go. Here are my choices. And the Oscar goes to Byron H. Love that a lot. Ferrari pit wall in the bin for good. Trent K. This is Spa-Francorchamps. Steen N. Very good. Beached as Bottas.
Good.
Samuel R. You're in the bin. You're in the bin. Everyone is in the bin. Tara G. I think Tara also Campy's bucket hat might have been placed in the bin, and because he doesn't like his present from
Still in the
you.
back of the jar.
Just a nice Spa weekend with the gals. Kelly W. Absolutely. We're looking at a P5 finish. Karim K. Yep. White-walled wheels of despair. Robert F. Yeah, that's Ferrari's failings. Summer holiday spa treatment. Daniel B. Belgium birthday Sparty. Josh L. Well done, Josh. Norris's brown nose. Rory N. Campy's Aquatics Club.
LBS, mate. I'll tell you what, we're going to meet one day.
Freya's met.
What are you going to do?
LBS.
What are you going to do when you meet LBS?
I don't know. Isn't he a Secret Service agent or something?
Yeah,
Or
he
is that a
works.
lie?
He works in. Of course, it's a lie.
You've been baiting me for that comment, haven't you?
For years. Leclerc has a hard off, David K. Driving and starting in first, Alex B. Lewis's lonely walk, Jonathan C. Everyone's in the bin, John B. Seb channeling the paddle pop lion, Jane W. I love that. It's very good, Jane. Well done to you. As many grid penalties as McLaren has drivers, Nicholas H. And can someone please tell Otmar, which is just everywhere. Otmar completely left in that cupboard being told nothing. The top three for the Belgian Grand Prix. First, with back at the factory, Patrick T from Australia, 244 points. Second, Tech Rabbits, which is, where is Ted? Tully C from Australia, 239 points. And third, Summer Holiday Spa Treatment, Daniel B, 234 points. Very, very good. Well, that is it for that episode, our Spa review episode. Massive thank you to the live stream for watching.
Yeah.
A massive thank you to you for listening and subscribing. Now, again, we've got a couple of things you can do if you want to support the show. If you need a VPN, jump onto Nord. Links in the description below. We really appreciate supporting that. And thanks to Nord for sponsoring us for this episode. You can get to Patreon, and there are some benefits, different tiers in there as well if you're interested. We will be doing a Campy T release for our top tier in there that you will get once a year. Only you will have access to that T-shirt. And Tommy T means he'll actually have to do a design to make him do some work.
I have to capture this.
That is cooked.
It's going to be...
It's literally going to be his face with like consummate professional 2019 to 2022. And of course,
the cartoon version.
And then, of course, you can buy some merchandise on the website. But look, a massive thank you to you for that, gents. A massive thank you to you too. Of course, we've got some more content this week coming out. Friday with Freya. There's still she hasn't decided on a name for that. So
I've just made it up because I've started designing it so she can get stuff.
Okay, great.
What have you called it?
I'm not remaking it. Nah, you'll have to find out.
Okay, great. Some alliteration hopefully will be in there.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Very,
That's
very
all
good. You're
That
only
is
talking
the peak of
alliteration.
design and
That's a very good
haiku.
point. And then, of course, we'll have a qualifying review. It will be Campy's Corner, which will be out on Sunday morning where we'll have a look at it. Now, we will potentially look at maybe doing a live stream this year of a watch-along for qualifying at a decent time zone for us. Maybe a Singapore Grand Prix.
Japan,
to navigate technologically.
Look, we'll do our best. But anyway, there's potential.
We'll do it here and we'll have a TV there.
We'll have.
Be easy.
There'll be 3 podcasts this week, 3 podcasts next week, then the week after. It's going to continue. It's going to be great. A massive thank you to you again for listening, for watching, gents. A massive thank you to you and Zeke, your fan in the corner.
Yeah, boy.
MVP, first appearance.
My man. Yes, we will see you next time, which will be the Dutch, your home, although you're not actually Dutch,
Apparently.
Grand Prix review.
Whoever said that is an idiot.
Well, that's it. Live streams. Thank you so much for joining us.
We've got a God comment. What's the best comment on there?
Yeah, go
I
on.
think you getting penalties is great.
That was in Discord.
Overuse.
Standing.
Who gave me this button?
Who gave you any button?
Let's see. I can pull up the.
I think the best comment is just somebody just saying we're looking sharp.
They were referring to you and me, Campy. We look good. Zeke looks good too. James.
I'm not on camera, so
It's only his red
it's one of
beanie.
you 3.
Yes. I mean, we might move the lights next time, so we're actually instead of illuminating the camera, illuminate the people. Which I realised halfway through. But that's what you get. But a massive thank you to you for watching. Zeke, you may feel free to end the live stream at any point.
Cheers, live stream. Good to have you here. Nice.